Some individuals have a clear fat loss goal and go into a cutting phase, whereas others are focused on building muscle and have a bulking phase. But there are also people in the middle that want to lose excess fat, especially in stubborn areas, while building more muscle. What to do in this case? In this video, I will give you an update on my previous video about a skinny fat solution. You will learn all about how you can efficiently gain muscle and lose fat, and I will also explain how you can determine the next steps in your fitness journey. First, about the skinny fat look. This simply refers to a physique within a healthy body weight but with a higher proportion of fat and low muscle mass. I want to emphasize that having a so-called skinny fat look is not necessarily dangerous for your health, and it's nothing to feel bad about. I think when many of us look online for fitness inspiration, we see outliers of physical fitness, and this results in unrealistic body standards. The majority of people don't have a shredded six-pack year-round or huge biceps, so don't be too hard on yourself about your starting point. Now, I can understand that if you're putting hard work in the gym and also paying attention to nutrition, you want to see your body going through more physical change. And to get rid of the skinny fat look, it essentially comes down to building more muscle and losing more fat. Two variables that play a pivotal role here is the inclusion of lifting weights and not overly restricting your nutrition. A common cause of the skinny fat look is that instead of lifting weights and having balanced nutrition, most people tend to do a lot of cardio and overly restrict their calorie intake when they start their fitness journey. But this has the opposite effect. The excessive food restriction results in muscle loss, and the long cardio sessions don't help you develop muscle. So step 1 in any skinny fat solution process is training consistently with weights. I'll get to whether you should cut or bulk first in a second, but a non-negotiable variable is lifting weights for progressive overload. Muscles grow if they are continuously challenged. When you impose greater demands on your muscles over time, your muscles adapt by growing bigger and stronger. Since those with a skinny fat body type tend to be mostly beginner trainees, you won't need much more than 3 or 4 training sessions per week to effectively stimulate your muscles for growth. A common mistake I see beginner trainees make is having 5 to 6 very high volume training sessions per week. But this eventually results in too much training fatigue, and you won't be able to perform at your best in the gym. So instead of doing lots of pump style workouts, focus on 3 to 4 high quality training sessions with mostly compound movements that train the large muscle groups together. Instead of laying out an entire training program in this video, I suggest you check another video I made a while back about the 3-day full body routine that I gave away, and you can find it in the description of this video. About cardio, I mentioned that a common mistake is that sometimes people do too much cardio when they try to get rid of that skinny fat look, because excessive cardio can interfere with muscle and strength development. But that's not to say that any form of cardio is bad. There still is benefit in having some form of cardio in your training, purely from a health point of view. But a good rule of thumb for beginner trainees is to not incorporate intense cardio sessions more than 3 times per week. An exception would be something like walking, which is too low in intensity to impact your strength training. So now we know that the type of training we should look into to get rid of the skinny fat look is lifting weights. But next to training, nutrition of course also plays a pivotal role here. And to get back to the original question, do you focus on losing fat first by being in a calorie deficit, or should you bulk up by maintaining a calorie surplus? As you will see in a second, both options work in different situations. But if we're speaking about beginner trainees, I would typically aim for having a moderate calorie deficit. There's this common misconception that fat loss and muscle growth cannot happen simultaneously. But for beginner trainees or those that come from a training break, gaining muscle while losing fat is possible. There is research to support this. You may not gain muscle as quickly as on a bulk, but research shows you can still make decent muscle growth progress. That's why I'd suggest most beginner trainees to not go all out in a bulking phase, but to structure their nutrition in a way to support body recomposition. This means maintaining a moderate calorie deficit that helps you lose fat but still allows you to train hard, and having a focus on consuming a high protein diet with balanced carbs and fats. This nutrition approach helps you slowly move away from the skinny fat look. Because of the calorie deficit, you're losing body fat steadily, and because you're also lifting weights consistently throughout the process, there is slow and steady muscle growth going on. The reason I suggest only a moderate calorie deficit and not trying to lose fat very quickly is because muscle growth is an energy-intensive process. If you maintain a more aggressive calorie deficit, your body won't have the energy required to properly support the development of new muscle. A 15% calorie deficit is what I'd recommend to most people. This means that if you maintain your weight at 2,500 calories per day, aim to eat roughly 2,100 calories per day. The reason I suggest also a high protein diet while maintaining this calorie deficit may go without saying. As I have shared before, there is solid research showing that at least 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight in protein helps maximize muscle growth. So keep your daily protein intake at least at 1.6 grams per kilogram of your body weight. For carbs and fats, the reason I suggest a balance in these macronutrients is so that you can get enough carbohydrates for fueling, lift and performance, while also getting enough fats for hormonal health. After losing a good amount of body fat and making your initial muscle growth progress in a period of 3 to 4 months, this is when I would then transition into a bulking phase. Now, this is not to say that it's bad to start with lean bulking if you are in a skinny fat situation. I have coached clients before in which we started with a bulking phase to get out of a skinny fat look, but these are the exceptions, and there are 2 specific exceptions in which I would start with a bulking phase instead of a moderate calorie deficit to get out of a skinny fat look. First, it's when the individual is already relatively lean but just has excess stubborn fat around areas like the waist. And secondly, when I am dealing with an experienced trainee that has more than 1.5 years of consistent training under their belt. Now, about the first exception, if you only have excess fat to lose around the stubborn areas like your waist, then doing something like a lean bulk won't reduce the fat in that area, but what it does do, it helps you kind of develop the rest of your body so that that skinny fat look fades away as you develop more muscle. Because there will always be some stubborn fat left, and this is healthy. The goal should not be to get rid of all visible fat that's on your stomach. The human body is not designed to maintain such low body fat percentages over the long term. About the second exception, that's about training experience, when someone has already trained consistently for more than 1.5 years, it becomes difficult to maintain the body recomposition approach I suggested earlier. Your muscles will grow minimally in a calorie deficit if you have more than 1.5 years of training experience under your belt. The way to set up a lean bulk is by having a calorie surplus of roughly 10% as indicated by research. So instead of a 15% calorie deficit, the lean bulk approach comes with a 10% calorie surplus, while maintaining your high protein intake and balanced carbs and fat intake. So to sum up today's video, prioritizing lifting weights over cardio is key for getting out of the skinny fat look. For beginner trainees, it's possible to build muscle while losing fat at the same time, so I would typically suggest a small calorie deficit in this case to lose fat while developing muscle. But if you are experienced in training and or don't have much fat to lose, starting with a lean bulking process in which you have a small calorie surplus can work as well. I hope this video gives you a good idea of how you can approach the skinny fat solution based on your current situation. As you saw, it depends on a few variables like your current training experience and body fat levels. But if you have any questions about your situation, then feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, leave me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you in the next video.